This is an emergency action notification. All broadcast stations and cable systems shall transmit this emergency action notification message. This station has interrupted its regular programming at the request of the White House to participate in the emergency alert system. During this emergency, most stations will remain on the air providing news and information to the public in assigned areas. This is KTUL. We will continue to serve the Tulsa area. If you are not in this local area, you should tune to stations providing news and information for your local area. You are listening to the emergency alert system serving the Tulsa area. Do not use your telephone. The telephone lines should be kept open for emergency use. The emergency alert system has been activated. We interrupt our programming at the request of the White House. This is the emergency alert system. All normal programming has been discontinued during this emergency. This is KTUL. This station will continue furnishing news, official information, and instructions for the Tulsa area. If you are not in the Tulsa area, you should tune to stations providing news and information for your area. It is important that you listen carefully to announcements from the station in your local area. We interrupt our programming at the request of the White House. This is the emergency alert system. All normal programming has been discontinued during this emergency. This is KTUL. This station will continue furnishing news, official information, and instructions for the Tulsa area. If you are not in, the following message is transmitted at the request of the United States government. This is not a test. Repeat, this is not a test. At 10:27 a.m. Eastern Time, or 7:27 a.m. Pacific Time, multiple scientific monitoring stations across the United States began to suffer significant magnetic flux. These magnetic fluctuations have been confirmed to be directly linked to an imminent and unexpected collapse of Earth's magnetic field. At the current time, the expected time of total magnetic field collapse is in 4 hours and 18 minutes. When the magnetic field collapses, Strong radiation from the sun will bombard the surface of the planet, making the surface extremely hazardous indefinitely. Navigation tools that rely on magnetism, such as compasses, will be rendered non-functional. Solar radiation will also begin to slowly strip away the atmosphere. Though it may take billions of years, the Earth's atmosphere will erode away. The surface will be uninhabitable within days. Local areas of the magnetic field may have already collapsed. Take time now to gather supplies necessary for an indefinite stay indoors or underground. If you are able to move to an underground shelter, do so as soon as possible. If you are unable to seek underground refuge, cover or board up windows to prevent harmful ultraviolet radiation from affecting you indoors. If you must venture outdoors, cover as much skin as possible to prevent sunburn. Do not look directly at the sun without eye protection. Effects on Earth's climate are, at this time, difficult to gauge, but are expected to be permanent and catastrophic. Within the next year or so, food webs worldwide may begin to break down. Agriculture will fail. Food will become scarcer as time elapses. Effective tomorrow, the President has ordered martial law across the United States. A curfew of 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. is in effect until further notice. All residents without proper protection must be in an appropriate shelter during daylight hours for their own safety. Those found in violation of the curfew may be subject to fines or imprisonment. At this time, no direct cause of this event has been identified, and no way to prevent the magnetic field's collapse exists. There is a possibility that the magnetic field may be in a state of flux due to an impending reversal. However, this, as well as the cause of this disaster, cannot be confirmed at this time. Stay tuned to official information outlets for further instructions and details. Emergency programming will remain operational across the United States to furnish updates. May God bless not just the United States, but the world in this crisis.
The following message is transmitted at the request of the Colorado Department of Emergency Management. A voluntary evacuation has been ordered for high-altitude communities across the United States due to the collapse of the Earth's magnetic field.
All communities 1 mile or higher above sea level are urged to evacuate as soon as possible. This effort is being undertaken to prevent exposure to harmful solar radiation at high altitudes. Bring enough supplies to last as long as possible.
Roadways into evacuation zones have been closed except for emergency personnel, and speed limits leading out of evacuation zones have been increased to up to 90 miles per hour to aid in evacuation. Do not re-enter the evacuation zone unless official permission has been granted.
This evacuation is not mandatory, although the government strongly urges you to evacuate as soon as possible. Stay tuned to official information outlets for further instructions and details.
A statewide emergency broadcast has been initiated by the Texas state government. Ultraviolet radiation exposure is expected to rise across the United States and the world following the collapse of the Earth's magnetic field. The United States government has delegated authority for curfews to individual states. In accordance with modified federal mandates, a statewide daytime curfew has been placed into effect, and the state of Texas will be equipping hospitals for sunlight overexposure over the next few weeks, and underground shelters will be constructed in highly populated areas to accommodate particularly sensitive individuals. It is highly advised to remain indoors and out of direct sunlight between the hours of 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. Those found outdoors between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. without adequate skin protection may be detained and questioned, and may be issued a fine not exceeding $2,500. Do not panic. Panicking will only create further problems and make the overall situation worse. Remain tuned to official news sources for updated information.
This is KSCS, with new information for the Dallas-Fort Worth area. New statewide emergency readiness protocols are being placed into effect, effective immediately. Nobody is allowed outdoors without skin protection between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. Those in violation may be arrested and fined. Hospitals are also being equipped for mass UV overexposure, and underground shelters are being constructed to house sensitive individuals. Please stay tuned to KSCS or another station for updated information. As a reminder, every station will give their station ID if they are operational every 2 minutes across DFW. Stay safe out there.
The civil authorities have issued a law enforcement warning for the following counties/areas. Duval FL, beginning at 7:24 p.m. on November 18, 2015, effective until 10:24 p.m. Message from my POSCAP. Mass rioting and looting has been reported across the Jacksonville metropolitan area. This mass panic is likely due to the recent collapse of the planet's magnetic field. Police are stretched thin, attempting to resolve the issue, and 911 lines are inundated with emergency requests. Effective immediately, all residents in Jacksonville and neighboring cities are to remain indoors until further notice. If you are found participating in rioting or looting, you will be arrested and detained. If you have an emergency, strongly consider calling your local police non-emergency hotline.
The following message is transmitted at the request of the Oklahoma State Emergency Management. As a reminder, a curfew is in effect today from 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. due to ultraviolet radiation. All residents without proper skin protection must remain indoors at all times during daylight hours. With sunrise in approximately 90 minutes, rush preparedness to completion. If windows are not properly covered with boards, shutters, or blackout curtains, take time now to ensure that these windows are covered. As a reminder, windows that do not receive direct sunlight do not need to be covered. If you require assistance in covering your windows, or are physically unable to do so, please call your local police non-emergency hotline. Stay tuned to official news outlets for further information. The following message is transmitted at the request of the Oklahoma.
The following message is transmitted at the request of the United States government. This is not a test. Repeat, this is not a test. This is a report from the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, to be broadcast nationally as of 11:43 am Eastern Standard Time, or 8:43 am Pacific Standard Time. Severe flux within Earth's magnetic field has been confirmed. Multiple weak magnetic poles have been detected across the planet. Some locations of detected poles include Utah, Uruguay, the Pacific Ocean, Namibia, Libya, Scotland, Poland, Turkmenistan, Bangladesh, and Vanuatu. With the magnetic field confirmed to be in flux, some highly limited ultraviolet radiation protection may occur at times. The surface of the planet will not become uninhabitable as previously expected. However, it is still recommended to remain indoors during daylight hours. A given time of the restabilization of the magnetic field cannot be given. Should more updates be necessary, further national broadcasts will be issued.
If any devices remain plugged in when main power
lose power. If you or a loved one requires electricity to assist with living, devise and implement whatever measures are necessary to protect their lives without electricity for potentially hours at a time. If possible, stay tuned to radio or television stations until main power is shut off, and then finalize your preparations. The signal of an all clear will be the reactivation of the national power grid. This concludes this activation of the emergency alert system.
The following message is transmitted at the request of the Davidson County Emergency Management. Massive power outages are present across Davidson County. Areas suffering outages include southern Nashville, Berry Hill, Oak Hill, Nashville International Airport, Glencliff, Priest Lake and Forest Lake. Isolated power outages have been reported outside of the affected areas. If you are currently suffering a power outage, do not report the outage to your local authorities. They are aware of the situation and are actively working to restore electrical services as soon as possible. Flash flood emergency for the Missouri River downstream of the Garrison Dam to Bismarck. The National Weather Service in Bismarck has issued a flash flood warning for western Burleigh County, northeastern Mercer County, eastern Morton County, eastern Oliver County, until 8:45 a.m. Central Standard Time. At 3:21 a.m. Central Standard Time, emergency managers reported power failure at the Garrison Dam causing rapid and uncontrolled discharge of water into the Missouri River. Water levels are already rising downstream. Flash flooding may occur as far downstream as Bismarck and will be the most severe in areas downstream to Washburn. Flash flooding is already occurring. This is a flash flood emergency for the Missouri River downstream of the Garrison Dam to Bismarck. This is a particularly dangerous situation. Seek higher ground now. Hazard: life-threatening flash flooding. Source: Emergency Management reported flash flooding. Locations impacted include Bismarck, Riverdale, Washburn, Pick City, Denton, Mandan, Cross Ranch State Park, Sanger, and Rock Haven. Move to higher ground now. This is an extremely dangerous and life-threatening situation. Do not attempt to travel unless you are fleeing an area subject to flooding or under an evacuation order. Turn around, don't drown when encountering flooded roadways. Most flood deaths occur in vehicles. Repeating, a flash flood warning has been issued until 8:45 a.m. Central Standard Time for the following counties: Burleigh, Mercer, Morton, and Oliver. Flash flood emergency for the Missouri River downstream of the Garrison Dam to Bismarck.
Evacuate immediately. The following message is transmitted at the request of the Texas State Emergency Management. There is an emergency at the Comanche Peak Nuclear Generating Station that necessitates immediate evacuation from the 10-mile emergency planning zone. Locations in the evacuation zone include Glen Rose, Grand Prairie, Canyon Creek, De Cordova, Powder, Nemo, and Paluxy. If you hear outdoor warning sirens, you are in immediate evacuation radius from the power plant. Do not delay to gather supplies. Evacuate now. Radioactive materials may have already been released into the environment. Repeating, there is an emergency at the Comanche Peak Nuclear Generating Station that necessitates immediate evacuation from the 10-mile emergency planning zone. Locations in the evacuation zone include Glen Rose, Grand Prairie, Canyon Creek, De Cordova, Powder, Nemo, and Paluxy. If you hear outdoor warning sirens, you are in immediate evacuation radius from the power plant. Do not delay to gather supplies. Evacuate now. Radioactive materials may have already been released into the environment. The civil authorities have issued a local area emergency for the following counties/areas. Clark and V, beginning at 3:16 a.m. on November 22nd, 2015, effective until 5:16 a.m. Message from my postcap. Power and water outages are widespread in the Las Vegas area. Multiple areas of Las Vegas and Henderson are without water, and other areas have suffered waterline bursting due to excessive water buildup within underground pipelines. Clark County Sanitation Services also report that sewer systems have backed up due to power failures at multiple treatment facilities within the area. Multiple sewer failures have been reported due to overburden in some areas. Residents in or near Las Vegas are advised to not use municipal water or sewer mains and use bottled water for drinking purposes only. Clark County officials are working to restore services as quickly as possible, and a message will be issued once service is restored. The following message is transmitted at the request of the Shoshone County Emergency Management. A large wildfire is in progress in northeastern portions of Kellogg and forests northeast of Kellogg. Fire motion is north of 10 to 15 miles per hour. All residents at Kellogg, Wardner, Smelterville, Pinehurst, Osborne, Silverton, and Wallace are advised to evacuate the area immediately due to the threat of hazardous air quality within the Silver Valley. As you evacuate, ensure that you dress with proper skin coverage to protect against harmful ultraviolet radiation, and with a mask to avoid breathing wildfire smoke. The following message is transmitted at the request of the United States government. This is not a test. Repeat, this is not a test. This is a report from the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, to be broadcast nationally. Magnetic flux continues within the planetary magnetic field. Although the solar storm that recently impacted the world has crippled numerous areas, many others have received little impact and are still operational. The United States and the world have survived what was thought to be humanity's end several days ago. However, to preserve what remains of American civilization, a drastic change must take place. Humanity must become a nocturnal species in order to survive. Effective immediately, schools and businesses may shut down for the next 2 weeks, then resume normal operation during nighttime. Although the daytime is not as hazardous as previously predicted, it will still be extremely risky to undergo normal life without extreme ultraviolet protection. This shift in society is being undertaken to protect you and those around you, and to maintain what remains of civilization for as long as possible. National emergency programming will terminate with the conclusion of this alert. If you have any questions or concerns regarding this action, visit online sources or tune into local news programming for additional details. This concludes this activation of the emergency alert system. Normal programming will now resume.